an icon. Mascot. A legend. For as long as we can remember, he has run from field to field, defining Georgia Tech's culture. A Buzz shouldn't be taken for granted. He has a long, tumultuous past waiting to be explored. Today, we're going to be diving into how and why Buzz came along, and how he affects student culture every single day of our lives. This is the history of Buzz.
Buzz's history begins all the way back in ye olden days, aka 1905. At this time, Georgia Tech's football team was very inconsistent and confusing. They were called a bunch of different names, such as the Blacksmiths, the Techity Techs, the Tech Boys. And our team logo colors also varied from time to time, because even though the school colors were gold and navy, the teams often wore yellow and white jerseys because the gold fabric wasn't available at the time. Now, back then, the current head coach of Georgia Tech, who had stepped up to the position a year prior, was none other than John Heisman. If you don't know who John Heisman is, he is a legend in football history and is often considered the father of football. If you just take a look at this graph, out of all Georgia Tech head coaches over the years, he had the highest win percentage ever. Now, a few things John Heisman is known for is inventing the forward pass, inventing the center snap, creating the T formation, and leading Tech to the biggest blowout in football history, being 222-0 against Cumberland. He left such an impact on Georgia Tech that they decided to build a statue of him to honor him, which can be found right outside Bobby Dodd Stadium. Now, on October 29, 1905, Heisman sought to fix all inconsistencies within the team and stated, "Henceforth, the Georgia Tech football players shall be known as the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets." However, this was not after the Yellow Jacket insect that everybody knows today, but rather the bright yellow jackets that the players tended to wear, which can be seen here. However, the first reference to an actual insect wouldn't even come until November 7th, 1906, when an Atlanta newspaper comic depicted a yellow jacket threatening a Georgia football player and warning, "Somebody's gonna get stung," henceforth becoming the first reference to Buzz in history. Now, as the yellow jacket insect depicted in the comic gravitated towards our school, it gained popularity among the students. And in 1938, Tech got its first official illustration of Buzz, the yellow jacket. Then 37 years later, in 1975, he was again updated to a newer version seen here.
(1979). This is a picture of Richie Bland, and Richie Bland had an idea which would transform Georgia Tech forever. Bland wanted an official costume for Buzz, our mascot. His first draft is shown here, drawn on a bar napkin. However, he still had to find a way to make his design a reality. This is Six Flags Amusement Park in Georgia. These are some of the mascots for the park. Bland wanted to model Buzz based on these mascots, so he asked the costume designer at Six Flags if he could design a mascot based on the bar napkin drawing shown before. The costume designer came back to him with an offer for $1,400. Would Richie take it? $1,400 was a lot. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $6,000 today. Richie Bland was going to have to eat the entire cost himself. What would Richie do? Does he pay up? Does he not pay up? It's a tough decision. $6,000 right now is a lot, and $1,400 back then was a lot. But Richie decided to pay up. Here is the costume that the artist created for Richie. This Buzz is designed fairly different than the one we see today. Richie Bland, with his new Buzz costume, had a goal in mind. He wanted Buzz to be present on the field for games. He wanted Buzz to be someone that the students could rally around at games and someone that would really boost the spirit of the students at Georgia Tech. Bobby Dodd. This is where Bland wanted Buzz to take off for the first time. This is where he wanted his first public appearance. However, this would not be easy. Bland would have to get through security. Since Georgia Tech had no president for a mascot, this was going to be very difficult. Bland first asked the security if he could get in. No, the security guard told him. We aren't going to let some random kid in a costume onto Bobby Dodd. Well, that sucks. Looked like Bland's dreams are going to go down the drain. Sight! You thought Bland wasn't going to get stopped that easy. Buzz's debut appearance, starting now. (1980). Richie Bland's Buzz was officially recognized by the school and became part of the cheerleading team. There he is, that little blur. Unfortunately, Bland was going to be graduating soon, so he needed to find someone to pass the mantle of Buzz onto. He asked his friend Jeff Cooper. Cooper would be the next Buzz from 1981 to 1982. Cooper made some significant changes to Buzz, not the costume, but the concept. He created a panel of judges to look at the auditions for people who wanted to become Buzz. He also split Buzz's duties between two people, as Buzz was always so busy and it was virtually impossible for one person to do all of his duties. The next Buzz was John Kluber, who served from 1982 to 1984. Kluber's Buzz was the first one to ever jump on the press table. Kluber said that as Buzz, there was no fear, no pain. The crowd motivation just pumped him with confidence and adrenaline, and he felt like he could do anything. In 1985, Georgia redesigned their school mascot based on Buzz. That same year, Mike Kluber took over as Buzz, and he served up until 1987. Mike provided a counter-opinion to John as he split his chin during the Tip-Off Classic and also damaged his knee hurdling the press table. Jim Perrin, who was Buzz from 1985 to 86, and again from 1987 to 88, described some other gripes of being Buzz. He detailed how kids would hit him, sometimes intentionally and sometimes not, and that some students would grope him when he was crowd surfing. From 1988 to 1989, Susan Davis was Buzz. Davis was the first, and as of what is presently known, only woman to ever be Buzz. After Susan Davis, we kind of lose track of who is Buzz, but since Davis, we do know that Buzz has lived on, and there have been more and more people who have gotten the opportunity to suit up.
While after Susan Davis, we start to lose track of who is Buzz, we start to gain an appreciation for who Buzz is. In 1997, Buzz would come out on top at the National Cheerleaders Association Mascot of the Year competition. He would also go on to win Access Atlanta's Best of Atlanta poll that year, thanks to a little bit of creative ballot stuffing by Tech students. We'll give Buzz 2 gold medalists for those wins. You'd think that winning 2 gold medalists would be the coolest thing Buzz could do in 1997, but you'd be proven wrong, because Buzz decided to live up to his yellow jacket persona and fly. In 1997, Buzz would skydive. In 2001, Buzz would once again be crowned Mascot of the Year by the NCAA. This brings his total to 3 gold medals. Buzz's next story, however, will take us to the other side of the country, Salt Lake City, Utah. In Salt Lake, there existed a minor league baseball team named the Salt Lake Buzz. See the problem? We're Buzz, they're Buzz, it just doesn't work. It wasn't going to work. That's why Georgia Tech filed suit. In one corner, we have the Salt Lake Buzz, Salt Lake's favorite minor league baseball team. In the other corner, we have our beloved mascot, Georgia Tech's very own Buzz. The baseball team and people from Salt Lake City were not thrilled to be sued over their name. Journalist Natalie DeCoux of the Daily Utah Chronicle complains that the Buzzes are on different sides of the country and that they represent completely different things. Georgia Tech meant business, however, and wanted to show strength in protecting its trademarks. Buzz has now become one of Georgia Tech's biggest symbols. In just 20 short years, Buzz had gone from Richie Bland's sketch on a napkin, just a pipe dream, to one of the biggest symbols of Georgia Tech. Bland would be awestruck. Georgia Tech would win the case, earning them a nice sum of $600,000. And the Salt Lake Buzz would be forced to change their name to the Salt Lake Stingers. (2002). From all that's happened so far, you'd figure Buzz is pretty innocent. What a cute and friendly mascot. As it turns out, Buzz isn't all lollipops and rainbows. Enter Playboy. That's right, the same company that makes those magazines. Enter Buzz, our so-called cute and innocent mascot. In an interview with Playboy, Buzz said some very questionable things. I'm a gentleman, but I'm also quick to push the boyfriend out of the way and go for the girl. Anytime there's a cute girl, I go for her. I sit on her lap, flirt, and usually try to get her phone number or a kiss. And I'm kinda dirty in a sense. Really, Buzz? I'll tell you what's getting kinda dirty. Your reputation. I guess we can let one screw-up slide. In 2003, Buzz would participate in the Capital One Mascot Challenge. He would place second. This wins him a silver medal to add to his collection. In 2004, some new bits of information about Buzz's past come to light. In Tech Topics, Winter 2004 edition, Cam McNair reveals that his wife, Judy McNair, had made her own Yellow Jacket costume way back in 1972, before Richie Bland would even attend Tech. Research done during the making of this video verified this claim, as we were able to find, presumably, Judy dressed up in her Buzz costume in the blueprint of 1972. In 2005 and 2006, Buzz competed in the Capital One Mascot Challenge again, placing second 2 more times. This gets him his 2 final silver medals. To this day, Buzz has not won another. In 2008, Buzz would take on another stunt. He would rappel from the Viewpoint building in Midtown. This gambit was performed to raise money from the Alumni Association to provide more scholarships. In 2012, Buzz would make his own parody of the viral music video Gangnam Style, which I highly recommend everyone witness. In 2016, Georgia Tech would begin licensing out Buzz for free to K-12 schools in need of imagery to represent their school. In 2017, Georgia Tech would sign a partnership with Adidas for athletic wear. Buzz's iconic shoes, the high-top Converse, would have to go, as Converse is owned by Nike, one of Adidas's primary competitors. It was not all bad news, though, because Adidas made Buzz a new pair of custom athletic shoes that stood up to the task of being a mascot much better. As of 2018, it is possible to submit a Buzz appearance request to have Buzz show up at an event like a wedding or birthday, for the low price of $200 an hour. Today, Buzz has firmly cemented himself as an icon of Georgia Tech. The yellow jacket proudly represents our culture and values. Buzz's past shows that Buzz is clearly a reflection of the students that attended Tech, built its traditions, and formed its culture. Buzz reminds us of our sense of community and belonging. At Georgia Tech, together we swarm, whether we're studying together or cheering for our volleyball team. As evidenced by his $200 price tag and duties split across several Buzzes, Buzz is one busy bee. As Tech students, we can relate to that too. Spending hours on work is almost as big a part of Georgia Tech's culture as being bad at football. Buzz is also just a lovable and nerdy mascot. Let's be honest, Georgia Tech is a school full of nerds. Just last week after the power went out in Woodruff, we collected half the building into a single room to build the greatest blanket fort that has ever been constructed. Buzz started off as just a crazy spur-of-the-moment idea like that, scribbled on a bar napkin. And lastly, of course, Buzz is just a little bit mischievous. We definitely like to get away with some shenanigans here. For the past 40 years, Buzz has been slowly building his personality after our culture. Or rather, we've been the ones making Buzz who he is all along. Because Buzz has been, and always will be, a reflection of the students.